The Trump administration has restored maximum pressure, signing directives aimed at driving Iran's oil exports to zero. Trump has openly discussed military strikes while also saying he's willing to make a deal with Iran. But here's what makes this moment so tragic: America doesn't see itself as the villain in this story. From Washington's perspective, Iran isn't a victim with a legitimate grudge. Iran is a problem state. It's a country that, through Hezbollah in Lebanon, Houthis in Yemen, and allied militias in Iraq and Syria, actively destabilizes the entire region. It's a nation standing at the edge of becoming a nuclear power, which would fundamentally alter the balance of power in the Middle East. It's a risk to global oil routes through the Strait of Hormuz, through which 21% of world's petroleum passes every single day, and a direct threat to US allies, not just Israel, but Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and others who see Iran's expanding influence as a threat to their survival. For American policymakers, this isn't just about holding a 73-year-old grudge, it's about prevention. They believe that if Iran is not stopped today, tomorrow there will be a nuclear Iran. And then stopping it will become impossible. So the window to act, they argue, is closing. So who's right? That depends entirely on where you are standing. For Iran, they're defending themselves against a superpower that overthrew their democracy in 1953, supported a brutal dictator for 25 years, backed their enemy with chemical weapons, and has spent decades trying to destroy their economy and isolate them from the world. Every American threat confirms what we already believe, that Washington will never accept an independent Iran. For America, they are containing a dangerous theocratic regime that took their people hostage, chants death to America, funds terrorist organizations, and is racing towards nuclear weapons while destabilizing the world's most volatile region. They believe that Tehran cannot be trusted and must be stopped. And so the cycle continues. And caught in the middle are millions of ordinary Iranians who just want to live normal lives, have economic opportunities, and choose their own government. Their views that all the old beliefs brutality and their license thankful, but however plausible, this really lies unfair until one side is willing to truly break the cycle, will forever be stuck in the same loop. The United States is going around creating conflict in every region of the world. It started with full-scale sanctions wars in 2025. And as soon as the calendar flipped on 2026, it captured Venezuela's president, threatened to acquire Greenland, and is now contemplating a regime change in Iran. Over the last 73 years, the US and Iran have had an incredibly rocky relationship. It's not just about nuclear weapons, or about military power, or terrorism, or even about religion. Because you can look at Saudi and Pakistan. America has a better relation with them. So why has the US spent over 45 years sanctioning Iran, threatening them, and treating them like an armed enemy? When did America's obsession with Iran really begin? Let's dive in. Iran in the 1950s looked like this. Women worked to teach the parents to Western theory. They could study in universities for higher education. The country was democratic and held elections. It was modern, progressive, completely different from the Iran we know today. It was not a country that needed any saving, but Iran had something that made it both the luckiest and the unluckiest country in the world. Oil. Look at this chart. Apart from the US and Russia, Venezuela and Iran were the top oil producers in the world. And Great Britain was fully leveraging this. Since 1940, British government bought 51% of Anglo-Iranian oil companies. The Royal Navy ran on Iranian oil. And the barely paid Iran even a fraction in return. Look at this. From 1940 to 1960, Anglo-Iranian oil companies paid $19.6 billion in corporate taxes to the British government. The Iranian government ended up taking a £45.23 million fine every 5 years in royalties and taxes. That's nearly one third of its taxes to the government. Not even the claimed revenue. During the World War II, they took it a step further and invaded and occupied Iraq alongside the Soviet Union to secure the oil fields. But after the Second World War, as nationalism swept the developing world, colonized nations were demanding independence and control over their own economy. And when Iran's primary focus was taking back their oil. And then in 1950, it sparked major change. The American-owned Arabian American Oil Company agreed to do a 50-50 profit split with Saudi Arabia. The British Foreign Office rejected any idea of a single deal for Iran. This was the breaking point. In 1951, a 69-year-old lawyer and politician named Mohammad Mossadegh was leading Iran's political scene. He was a Western-educated, secular, and fiercely nationalist leader. He simply believed that Iran should control its own natural resources, and he had massive public support. So when he got democratically elected into the Iranian government in 1951, the first thing he did was nationalize Iran's oil. He proposed a compromise, which would divide the profits 50-50 between Iran and Britain. But Britain refused, because if Iran successfully nationalized its oil, what would stop Egypt from nationalizing the Suez Canal? What would stop other colonies from taking back their resources? And keep in mind, a time post-World War II, where Britain's global empire was in steep decline, so they tried everything in their power to prevent this loss. They threatened Iran they froze Iran's currency accounts in British banks, and they even banned exports to Iran of key commodities like sugar and steel. But Prime Minister Mossadegh refused to back down. So Britain went to the United States. At first, President Truman rejected British demands for American support. He was and Dwight Eisenhower became president. Britain was smarter this time around. Instead of making a pitch about oil, they started talking about communism. US didn't remove Mossadegh from power, Iran would turn to communism and come under the influence of Soviet Union, they claimed. Now keep in mind that the US had just seen China fall to communists and Korea erupt into war. So they bought this narrative and went ahead with something they called Operation Ajax. Here's how it worked. In 1953, CIA officers arrived in Tehran, the capital of Iran, with suitcases full of cash. They then bribed newspaper editors to print anti-Mossadegh propaganda. They also recruited street thugs to create chaos. They even hired people to pretend to be communists and threaten religious leaders, making it seem like Mossadegh was cracking down on Islam. And on August 19th, 1953, it worked. Street violence erupted, tanks rolled into Tehran, fighting resulted in the deaths of around 300 people. Mossadegh and his government were overthrown, and a pro-Western monarch, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, was put in place. Mossadegh was arrested, imprisoned for 3 years, and then spent the rest of his life under house arrest until his death in 1967. The nationalization of oil now, alongside British companies, even American companies like the Standard Oil entered Iran. And now, Iran got just about 50% of the revenue. The Shah bought American weapons. He opened Iran up to Western influence. For the US, it was a win. Iran was their